We have come a long way from the little black sewing machine on which my mama made clothes for me when I was a little girl. With modern innovations, we can do so much more in the sewing room, and it is so much quicker and more accurate. New technology and techniques make sewing much easier and certainly more fun. You are my special guest in my sewing room today. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today Phyllis Dobbs of Phyllis Dobbs Art and Design Studio. Phyllis is also a representative of the Warm Company. Phyllis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. I'm delighted to be here.
I know we're going to talk about quilting today, and this quilt makes me happy. This is one of your designs, the fabric designs. Look at this little doggy with his boots on, walking with friends and flowers and birds, and it's just precious. Now, Phyllis, what are you going to talk to us about today?
I'm going to talk about stipple quilting, which is a way to do an overall quilting of your background that gives just random stitches. It's done free motion, and it's just a good effect, and I think a beautiful effect for a quilt.
All right.
To get started, I like batting. This is a new batting that has both low melt polyester and cotton, and they melt together to form a bond which has no glue in it, so that is really a good thing without the glue. And then I like to quilt with a stipple quilting using a variegated thread. The variegated thread blends more into the background with your fabrics and just gives a very good effect, and with the in and out shades of light and dark. Okay, I've got a sample here of 2 layers of fabric, and I've got the batting in between. So I will show you how to start on the stipple quilting. To stipple quilt, you need a pressure foot that is an open toe embroidery foot, or a darning foot will work. They will stay above your fabric and not press down on your fabric, so that you do have the free motion that you can move your quilting back and forth. And that's very necessary for the stipple quilting, so that you can do your designing in swirls and little curly cues as you would like. So to get started, I usually start at an edge, but as you're doing a whole quilt, you will find yourself starting at various points. So you lower the pressure foot and just start sewing, and you just move your fabric around, just in little swirls and little curly cues, ins and outs. And it's just, you can see how you can just easily move it with this pressure foot.
Phyllis, is it better to go slow? Tell me, is there any rules? Speed it up, go slow? What's the rule
I
on
like
that?
to go fairly slow. You need to get a good combination of the stitch speed as well as your hand moving, because if you get it, too slow, you're going to have, your stitches too close together or too fast. They're going to be too far apart. So just kind of get an even speed and just kind of gently move it so that your stitches stay uniform and they don't, pull one way or the other if you speed real fast. So it's just a good mix to get, just a medium speed, and just kind of take it easy and don't get impatient. But it's fast and it goes really well. It's the good coverage of your quilt.
Well, I just thank you so much for sharing that. And this is more of our little dog fabric there, with a doggy lunch bag and a doggy bone with a ribbon tied on it. Such creativity,
thank you.
Phyllis. I really love your designs.
Thank you.
And now we have some sewing inspirations to share with you. Phyllis, this is just the most wonderful Valentine table runner.
Thank you.
Do you do table linens for nearly all the occasions?
Oh, of course, yes.
Do you know, I think those of us who love to sew and quilt just love holidays, and it just makes me happy to put table runners like this to celebrate the occasion on my table. I love beautiful linens. Now talk to me about this batting, Phyllis.
Okay, this is a batting that is low melt polyester with cotton, and so the low melt polyester blends with the cotton so that you have no glue in the batting.
Doesn't it feel soft?
It's very soft.
I love that.
It is. It's very easy to quilt with, very soft, and gives you just a really good feel to your quilt.
And now, I talk about making me happy. These are just Fabulous. These are some of your fabric designs, of course. And the stippling, just the all-over stippling. And you usually do free motion?
Yes, do free motion, and you can just start and just do the whole quilt like that. It's easy to move the quilt, and it just really gives you a good, even quilting throughout the whole quilt.
Now, do you use the variegated thread on most of your
Most
on
of my
most
quilting,
of your
just about all
quilts?
of my quilting, I do use the variegated thread because it just blends in with the different colors of your fabrics and just really gives a really good look to it instead of just kind of standing out like the solid color does.
Okay, and this wonderful soft batting.
Yes.
I love this batting because the quilt feels so much better. Now, of course, it's going to look pretty, but it just feels so good. Oh, how fun! More cats. I think you like cats.
I do like cats. I have a cat.
I love cats.
Yeah.
I love cats and dogs. Now, this is so much fun. This looks like one that is a reasonably simple quilt to make, and then the stippling. You just, where do you start? One corner?
You can start in the
top?
corner along the seam, but as you get into it and you know you're moving around, you get to ending point and then you start somewhere else. So you can start in the middle, but I usually try to start at a seam or the the outside edge if I can, and just start doing it. But on a big quilt, I start in the center and kind of work out in different directions and then pick up in seams and everything. But
and this soft batting that we have.
Oh, yeah.
I really love that
the
feel.
cotton batting is just wonderful.
Yeah, it really is, and I just love the idea that there's no glue in there.
Yes.
For 100 years from now, that'd be a good idea.
Right.
Phyllis, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful things. Thank you for coming
Thank you,
to my
Martha.
sewing room today. And now I have an incredibly fun, so easy stabilizing trick to share with you. I'm so happy to have as my guest today Paula Bramwell from England. Paula is an educator for Floriani Products, a division of R&K Distributing. Paula, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I just love being here.
All right.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Appli-Kay today.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, in America that's Appli-Kay, but we'll enjoy here in Appli-Kay. Go ahead, sweet baby.
Okay. What I'm talking about this right here is a needle turn Appli-Kay. And we all know how tedious it can be when you're doing your fine turning underneath and stitching down. This makes it very easy. All you have to do is take your fabric, and we're going to have it turned facing up. You're going to take your nylon fusible mesh, and you're going to stitch all the way around that. We're going to have then cut it in here, turn it inside out, and then once we do that, we can cut this excess away. You hang on to those little bits because you never know when you're going to need them. Then all you have to do is fuse that down with your iron so it makes a nice sharp edge to it, just like on these Dresden plates. So these are ready to sew down. And as you can see on these, they have your fusible mesh right here, and it's going to hold those stitches down and the edges. It's not going to poke out. And when you go to turn them, your fingers don't stick through it. If you don't want that tiny bit of extra fabric there from the fusible cutaway, then just use your water-soluble fusible. Once you have done it, it's just basically the same technique. All you have to do is once you fuse this down, because this one you're going to have the fusible, so it's going to fuse to the garment. Then it will wash away, leaving no extra bulk at all. Now, this is my favorite way of doing things because it's so simple. This is, when we're doing our appliques, a lot of times it's hard to get our appliques in the right position. What we have is a fusible webbing, but it's also a pressure sensitive. You're going to take your shape, draw around it, then you're going to fuse it down on the back of your fabric. Once you do that, you just come back in here, cut right on the line of where you want your applique to be cut out. And then, whoops, all we have to do is on here, we can take it, and because it's pressure sensitive and it has that paper release on the back, this just peels away. If I put that down and it's not in the correct position, it's so easy to take it back up, reposition it, and then finger press it down. And then once you iron it, then you know it's going to be permanent. Now, here, this is another favorite of mine because we have freestanding appliques. I've taken the nylon mesh, non-fusible, turned them cattywampus or perpendicular, embroidered it out with rayon thread, and that's important because I'm going to take a heat tool around the outside edge and that seals it. Then you have your standing applique, which you can then put on any garment or anything you want and embellish it. I've just used a little bitty tiny zigzag
Just
stitch.
iron it down.
Well, actually, I've used a zigzag stitch with invisible
okay.
thread.
Okay.
That way I don't worry about it. Now, when we were talking about the applique a while ago, and you know I had the pressure sensitive, look at all of these hearts. This makes it so easy because each one of these have been individually placed. That makes it easy. And you can see all of those have been individually placed too, those pieces on that quilt there.
So pretty.
It's just gorgeous. Also, that little cushion there. And then the last thing, now that's a machine embroidery applique, and that has been worked up on that actual vinyl there, that upholstery vinyl.
Paula, I've had so much fun. Thank you so much for sharing all of these wonderful applique things.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here. And now I have a wonderful sewing accessory to share with you. This is a beautiful sewing accessory, easy to make and fun, but just really handy also. Now we're calling this a scissor keeper. It has 1, 2, 3 pockets with a little machine embroidery. It has the padded fleece in it. Now, I have put 3 pairs of scissors in here. So I've shown this version 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 pairs of scissors. However, this front little pocket would be wonderful for your glue pen or your magic marker, well not magic marker, but erasable marker. Anyway, this is a great little accessory, and it would be a really nice gift. It's also a fun place to put just a little bitty machine embroidery that won't take much time to do. Let's just see how this is made. Your ingredients to this recipe are, you have your fusible fleece, and I'm using peach silk dupioni and ecru silk dupioni. I think a lot of you know how much I love silk dupioni. I love it not only for christening dresses, but for ladies' blouses and also for scissor keepers. Now this is the fusible fleece, which we love. All right, I have my 3 ingredients there. Now, if you want to do machine embroidery, this is the time to do it. You'll put it in this corner, and then I mark the seam allowances. And the critical thing right now, I take my fusible fleece, put my fabric that I've already marked down, and I will fuse it. Such a wonderful time-saving product is the fusible fleece. Now I'm going to have to put the lining on, so I'll put the lining down on the fleece and the peach silk dupioni, and I will stitch around, leaving an area to turn it, leaving a little opening, turn it right side out. Now here is the fun part. I'm going to fold it. There's just a little magic fold here. The first fold is right here. Now the next fold is going to be a big wide fold. I'm going to come along this fold and I'm going to go all the way over here. And I bet you can guess what the next fold is. You're right. I bring the peach back. The peach color back. Now isn't that pretty? Let me just show. I've just folded it. You can see how it looks when it's really finished. And then after this is all folded, I'm going to sew along this side and sew along this side. And I have an incredible scissor accessory here. You know, I think things like this are really fun and they're really elegant to have in your sewing room. And I will say this, if you're looking for any kind of a gift for a lady who sews, I cannot think of a sweeter one or a prettier one. And we have several little groups of sewing accessories that are so pretty to have in the sewing room. This one is very practical, and I think you'll have a lot of fun making it. And now I have some hand embroidery to share with you. I'm so pleased to have as my guest today my very dear friend from New Zealand, Beverley Sheldrick. Beverley is a world-renowned embroiderer. She is a teacher at the Martha Pullen School of Art Fashion in Huntsville, and she is a teacher on 2 silk ribbon embroidery DVDs. Beverley, welcome to the show.
Oh, Martha, thank you. It's just lovely to be here as always.
And this beautiful little dress you've done, oh my goodness. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you based this on an antique dress that I had.
It was a dear little pattern that you found, or I think it was a little dress, and you had the pattern, or the firm had the pattern made, and I think it's just so
tucks in the front. I love the little, and silk dupioni, of course, the little tucks in the front. And then I love what you did where you just shaped the scallop and then pin stitched it down, and then of course have the scallops on the bottom and the beautiful silk ribbon embroidery, and of course what's a little dress without a beautiful bonnet. Now Beverly, this wonderful dress, what did you want to share with us today?
Today, Martha, I'd like to share with the viewers the pinwheel, I call it a pinwheel rose, which is this lovely yellow one in the centre. Now it's a beautiful rose. It's one that you can do it in either 4mm or in 7mm. It looks equally good. It can be a wonderful filler rose. If you're doing, say, a large basket of flowers or something like that, it can be a wonderful filler rose. So you can make them any size. But there are just certain little guidelines that you really must stick to for them to be successful. And I would like, first of all, the viewers to see here, I've got a pin. Now, this is just an ordinary, common garden pin, just a little pin. But what I want the viewers to notice is that it is just a very small bite there. And then this ribbon will be wound around it in a figure 8. Now, when we get to this next sample that we have here, you will see that I have then wound the ribbon round, and I'm going to show you very soon. And I've also got a piece of this bright green thread. Now, I wouldn't normally use that, but it just makes it easier for the viewers to see it. And then when we get to this one here, again, I've got my pin here. I've put all my little catch stitches in there. And this is the moment when you hold your breath. Because when you take your pin out, if you've done it all correctly, it will stay there. But you need to, you can see I haven't cut off my thread because I want to be able to catch it if suddenly pops up on me. So here we are. You can see I've got just this little tiny bite, and here we are just winding a figure 8 around just like that. Nothing difficult there. Now I'm ready to wind again, and you'll see how I'm pulling it. I'm making sure that the ribbon goes in hard against that pin. You begin to understand why you only have a very small bite. And so here I am. I'm just going to wind this round, just making sure that I keep it like that. Otherwise they can get very, very oval, and we want to try and keep it as round as we can, like that. And when I've got it to the size that I want it to be, then I'm just going to take that through to the back like that. Now starts the fun, Martha. You will see that I have brought my needle up like this with my bright green thread, and I'm going to put the needle in here and just stitch that. Now where that stitch actually is where I wound that figure 8. So I'm going to one end first, and then I'm going to go to the other end like this. Now normally, of course, I'd have a matching thread, and the idea is to hide all those stitches. So there's the two ends secure. Now I'm going to bring this up like this. You can see that my needle is angled, and it's just slipped out of on me, but that's not a problem. We'll just slip it back in again where it should be, and we're going to then just work our way slowly round, trying to catch those different folds, and we don't want that to happen, but we'll cope with that. We'll just pull that up there like that, so that we don't want it to do that on us. And so you can see I'm just slipping this back here like that. That was easy, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's beautiful.
Just I'm coming round like this, and I'm just working my way round, hiding those stitches invisibly in the folds of the rows like that. And I'm going to just keep on going, and I've got a little bit more. I don't know that it's entirely stable yet, and I'm hoping that I've still got a little bit of time in which I can put a few more stitches, because otherwise it's going to come jumping out on me and I will not be a happy chappy. So here I am, just coming round here like this, just stitching those folds down. I probably need to put in another one or two in here. I've not been quite as vigilant as I perhaps should have been, but I think we'll be all right. And we'll just put in another one in here like this. You can see how I'm just angling my needle so that I just come in there, and I suspect that I need one over here. And do you think we dare risk it, Martha?
I don't know. Let's try to risk it. Let's risk it and see what happens. Yes, there were enough stitches there. That was beautiful. Tell our viewers really quickly, you told me earlier today, what do you listen to while you do your embroidery?
Oh, I love to listen to talking books.
Books on tape, which is what we call it. I thought that was the most fascinating idea when you're stitching, to listen to books on tape.
Oh, Martha, it keeps me sane.
Stitching and books on tape, is that correct? Beverly, thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. And we did make it, is that right?
We did.
It did not
it
fall
has
apart.
not popped on us.
It has not popped out yet. Thank you, Beverly. And now I'd like to share a piece with you from my vintage collection. It is so unusual to find a little girl dress that really was meant for a 7, 8, or 10-year-old child, and especially out of silk. The features on this dress I would like to share with you that are so unusual. First of all, I want you to look at the neckline. It has a circular neckline, a round neckline, and do you see that the insertion, it isn't insertion, it's edging. 1, 2, 3 rows of edging. So unusual to find edging used instead of insertion. Now we have lots of narrow, tiny pin tucks. There's entredeaux in every arm's eye, and both arm's eye. And I want you to see all the tucks, and then this beautiful little motif, a little French or Swiss motif. I'm not sure which, because it really looks more like lace, but I think it's Swiss. And we have a lace shaping here. We have a mitered lace shape, another piece of lace. Let me pull the sleeves over. They are quite pretty. The center of the sleeve has narrow pin tucks, and then of course insertion and edging at the bottom. And then here is, again, very unusually placed, more of the edging that's used where traditionally insertion would be used. The back of this dress is very, very pretty. It has simply the pieces of lace coming in at an angle, and then the hem of the skirt is really very simple and actually very beautiful. I have insertion, and then a strip of the silk batiste, and then more insertion, and of course a double hem, and the hem comes all the way up to meet the insertion. This dress is beautifully made, and my guess would be it has so little wear that probably it was not worn a lot. Maybe made for a special occasion, a party or a birthday or something, but it's almost in perfect condition, which is so unusual for a 100-year-old child's silk dress. Dear Martha, I thought I would share what my little group did for our Sewing from the Heart project this year. We call ourselves I Can Do That Quilters. While I was down there in Huntsville becoming a serger licensed teacher with you, my friends started this project. I was fortunate to return home in time to help. We made pillowcases for Concur Cancer. They donate to kids with cancer in the Delaware, Philadelphia, and New Jersey area. This is from Sandy from New Jersey, one of our dear Martha Pullen licensed teachers. Sandy, thank you for the time that you and your quilting friends are giving to make pillowcases for the kids with cancer. I would like to thank you so much for joining me in my sewing room today. I've had a good time, and most importantly, I hope you've had a good time. Would you come back next time?